أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل أعوذ برب الفلق من شر ما خلق ومن شر غاسق إذا وقب ومن شر النفاثات في العقد ومن شر حاسد إذا حسد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل أعوذ برب الفلق من شر ما خلق ومن شر غاسق إذا وقب من شر النفاثات في العقد ومن شر حاسد إذا حسد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل أعوذ برب الفلق من شر ما خلق ومن شر غاسق إذا وقب ومن شر النفاثات في العقد ومن شر حاسد إذا حسد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل أعوذ برب الناس مالك الناس إله الناس من شر الوسواس الخناس الذي يوسوس في صدور الناس من الجنة والناس. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل أعوذ برب الناس ملك الناس إله الناس من شر الوسواس الخناس الذي يوسوس في صدور الناس من الجنة والناس. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل أعوذ برب الناس ملك الناس إله الناس من شر الوسواس الخناس الذي يوسوس في صدور الناس من الجنة والناس. ربي أعوذ بك من همزات الشياطين وأعوذ بك ربي أن يحضرون. ربي أعوذ بك من همزات الشياطين وأعوذ بك ربي أن يحضرون. ربي أعوذ بك من همزات الشياطين وأعوذ بك ربي أن يحضرون. أفحسبتم أنما خلقناكم عبثا وأنكم إلينا لا ترجعون. فتعالى الله الملك لا إله إلا هو رب العرش الكريم. ومن يدعو مع الله إلها آخر لا برهان له به فإنما حسابه عند ربه إنه لا يفلح الكافرون. وقل رب اغفر وارحم وأنت خير الراحمين. فسبحان الله حين تمسون وحين تصبحون وله الحمد في السماوات والأرض وعشيا وحين تظهرون. يخرج الحي من الميت ويخرج الميت من الحي ويحيي الأرض بعد موتها وكذلك تخرجون. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. لو أنزلنا هذا القرآن على جبل لرأيته خاشعا متصدعا من خشية الله. وتلك الأمثال نضربها للناس لعلهم يتفكرون. والله الذي لا إله إلا هو عالم الغيب والشهادة هو الرحمن الرحيم. هو الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الملك القدوس السلام المؤمن المهيمن العزيز الجبار المتكبر. سبحان الله عما يشركون. هو الله الخالق البارئ المصور له الأسماء الحسنى يسبح له ما في السماوات والأرض وهو العزيز الحكيم. سلام على نوح في العالمين إنا كذلك نجزي المحسنين إنه من عبادنا المؤمنين. أعوذ بكلمات الله التامات من شر ما خلق. أعوذ بكلمات الله التامات من شر ما خلق. أعوذ بكلمات الله التامات من شر ما خلق. بسم الله الذي لا يضر مع اسمه شيء في الأرض ولا في السماء وهو السميع العليم. بسم الله الذي لا يضر مع اسمه شيء في الأرض ولا في السماء وهو السميع العليم. بسم الله الذي لا يضر مع اسمه شيء في الأرض ولا في السماء وهو السميع العليم. اللهم إني أصبحت منك في نعمة وعافية وستر فأتمم نعمتك علي وعافيتك وسترك في الدنيا والآخرة. اللهم إني أصبحت منك في نعمة وعافية وستر فأتمم نعمتك علي وعافيتك وسترك في الدنيا والآخرة. اللهم إني أصبحت منك في نعمة وعافية وستر فأتمم نعمتك علي وعافيتك وسترك في الدنيا والآخرة. اللهم إني أصبحت أشهدك وأشهد حملة عرشك وملائكتك وجميع خلقك أنك أنت الله لا إله إلا أنت وحدك لا شريك لك وأن سيدنا محمدا عبدك ورسولك. اللهم إني أصبحت أشهدك وأشهد حملة عرشك وملائكتك وجميع خلقك أنك أنت الله لا إله إلا أنت وحدك لا شريك لك وأن سيدنا محمدا عبدك ورسولك. اللهم إني أسبحت أشهدك وأشهد حملة عرشك وملائكتك وجميع خلقك أنك أنت الله لا إله إلا أنت وحدك لا شريك لك، وأن سيدنا محمدا عبدك ورسولك. اللهم إني أسبحت أشهدك أشهد حملة عرشك وملائكتك وجميع خلقك أنك أنت الله لا إله إلا أنت وحدك لا شريك لك، وأن سيدنا محمدا عبدك ورسولك. الحمد لله رب العالمين حمدا يوافي نعمه ويكافئ مزيدا. الحمد لله رب العالمين حمدا يوافي نعمه ويكافئ مزيدا. الحمد لله رب العالمين حمدا يوافي نعمه ويكافئ مزيدا. آمنت بالله العظيم كفرت بالجبت والطاغوت استمسكت بالعروة الوثقى لا انفصام لها والله سميع عليم. آمنت بالله العظيم كفرت بالجبت والطاغوت واستمسكت بالعروة الوثقى لا انفصام لها والله سميع عليم. آمنت بالله العظيم وكفرت بالجبت والطاغوت واستمسكت بالعروة الوثقى لا انفصام لها والله سميع عليم. رضيت بالله ربا وبالإسلام دينا بسيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم نبيا ورسولا. رضيت بالله ربا وبالإسلام دينا وبسيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم نبيا ورسولا. رضيت بالله ربا وبالإسلام دينا وبسيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم نبيا ورسولا. حسبي الله لا إله إلا هو عليه توكلت وهو رب العرش العظيم. حسبي الله لا إله إلا هو عليه توكلت وهو رب العرش العظيم. حسبي الله لا إله إلا هو عليه توكلت وهو رب العرش العظيم. حسبي الله لا إله إلا هو عليه توكلت وهو رب العرش العظيم. حسبي الله لا إله إلا هو عليه توكلت وهو رب العرش العظيم. حسبي الله لا إله إلا هو عليه توكلت وهو رب العرش العظيم. حسبي الله لا إله إلا هو عليه توكلت وهو رب العرش العظيم. حسبي الله لا إله إلا هو عليه توكلت وهو رب العرش العظيم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وآله وصحبه وسلم. 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 اللهم إني أسألك من فجاءة الخير وأعوذ بك من فجاءة الشر. اللهم أنت ربي لا إله إلا أنت خلقتني وأنا عبدك وأنا على عهدك ووعدك ما استطعت. أعوذ بك من شر ما صنعت. أبوء لك بنعمتك علي وأبوء بذنبي فاغفر لي فإنه لا يغفر الذنوب إلا أنت. اللهم أنت ربي لا إله إلا أنت عليك توكلت وأنت رب العرش العظيم. ما شاء الله كان وما لم يشأ لم يكن ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. أعلم أن الله على كل شيء قدير وأن الله قد أحاط بكل شيء علما. اللهم إني أعوذ بك من شر نفسي ومن شر كل دابة أنت آخذ بناصيتها إن ربي على صراط مستقيم. يا حي يا قيوم برحمتك أستغيث من عذابك أستجير. أصلح لي شأني كله ولا تكلني إلى نفسي ولا إلى أحد من خلقك طرفة عين. اللهم إني أعوذ بك من الهم والحزن وأعوذ بك من العجز والكسل وأعوذ بك من الجبن والبخل وأعوذ بك من غلبة الدين وقهر الرجال. اللهم إني أسألك العافية في الدنيا والآخرة. اللهم إني أسألك العفو والعافية والمعافاة الدائمة في ديني ودنياي وأهلي ومالي. اللهم استر عوراتي وآمن روعاتي. اللهم احفظني من بين يدي ومن خلفي وعن يميني وعن شمالي ومن فوقي وأعوذ بعظمتك أن أغتال من تحتي. اللهم أنت خلقتني وأنت تهديني وأنت تطعمني وأنت تسقيني وأنت تميتني وأنت تحييني وأنت على كل شيء قدير. أصبحنا على فطرة الإسلام وعلى كلمة الإخلاص وعلى دين نبينا محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم. وعلى ملة أبينا إبراهيم حنيفا مسلما وما كان من المشركين. اللهم بك أصبحنا وبك أمسينا وبك نحيا وبك نموت وعليك نتوكل وإليك النشور. أصبحنا وأصبح الملك لله والحمد لله رب العالمين. اللهم إني أسألك خير هذا اليوم، فتحه ونصره ونوره وبركته وهداه. اللهم إني أسألك خير هذا اليوم وخير ما فيه وخير ما قبله وخير ما بعده، وأعوذ بك من شر هذا اليوم وشر ما فيه وشر ما قبله وشر ما بعده. اللهم ما أصبح بي من نعمة أو بأحد من خلقك فمنك وحدك لا شريك لك، فلك الحمد ولك الشكر على ذلك. سبحان الله وبحمده عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزنة عرشه ومداد كلماته. سبحان الله وبحمده عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزنة عرشه ومداد كلماته. سبحان الله وبحمده عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزنة عرشه ومداد كلماته. سبحان الله العظيم وبحمده عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزنة عرشه ومداد كلماته. سبحان الله العظيم وبحمده عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزنة عرشه ومداد كلماته. سبحان الله العظيم وبحمده عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزنة عرشه ومداد كلماته. سبحان الله عدد ما خلق السماء، سبحان الله عدد ما خلق الأرض، سبحان الله عدد ما بين ذلك، سبحان الله عدد ما هو خالق. الحمد لله عدد ما خلق في السماء، الحمد لله عدد ما خلق في الأرض، الحمد لله عدد ما بين ذلك، الحمد لله عدد ما هو خالق. لا إله إلا الله عدد ما خلق السماء، لا إله إلا الله عدد ما خلق في الأرض، لا إله إلا الله عدد ما بين ذلك، لا إله إلا الله عدد ما هو خالق. الله أكبر عدد ما خلق في السماء، الله أكبر عدد ما خلق في الأرض، الله أكبر عدد ما بين ذلك، الله أكبر عدد ما هو خالق. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم عدد ما خلق في السماء، لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم عدد ما خلق في الأرض، لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم عدد ما بين ذلك، لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم عدد ما هو خالق. لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، له الملك وله الحمد يحيي ويميت وهو على كل شيء قدير عدد كل ذرة ألف مرة. لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، له الملك وله الحمد يحيي ويميت وهو على كل شيء قدير عدد كل ذرة ألف مرة. لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، له الملك وله الحمد يحيي ويميت وهو على كل شيء قدير عدد كل ذرة ألف مرة. اللهم صل وسلم على سيدنا محمد مفتاح باب رحمة الله عدد ما في علم الله، صلاة وسلاما دائمين بدوام ملك الله، وعلى آله وصحبه عدد كل ذرة ألف مرة. اللهم صل وسلم على سيدنا محمد مفتاح باب رحمة الله عدد ما في علم الله، صلاة وسلاما دائمين بدوام ملك الله، وعلى آله وصحبه عدد كل ذرة ألف مرة. اللهم صل وسلم على سيدنا محمد مفتاح باب رحمة الله عدد ما في علم الله، صلاة وسلاما دائمين بدوام ملك الله، وعلى آله وصحبه عدد كل ذرة ألف مرة. اللهم صل وسلم على سيدنا محمد مفتاح باب رحمة الله عدد ما في علم الله، صلاة وسلاما دائمين بدوام ملك الله، وعلى آله وصحبه عدد كل ذرة ألف مرة. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ياسين والقرآن الحكيم إنك من المرسلين على صراط مستقيم تنزيل العزيز الرحيم لتنذر قوما ما أنذر آباؤهم فهم غافلون لقد حق القول على أكثرهم فهم لا يؤمنون إنا جعلنا في أعناقهم أغلالا فهي إلى الأذقان فهم مقمحون وجعلنا من بين أيديهم سدا ومن خلفهم سدا فأغشيناهم فهم لا يبصرون وسواء عليهم أأنذرتهم أم لم تنذرهم لا يؤمنون إنما تنذر من اتبع الذكر وخشي الرحمن بالغيب فبشره بمغفرة وأجر كريم. إنا نحن نحيي الموتى ونكتب ما قدموا وآثارهم وكل شيء أحصيناه في إمام مبين. واضرب لهم مثلا أصحاب القرية إذ جاءها المرسلون إذ أرسلنا إليهم اثنين فكذبوهما فعززنا بثالث فقالوا إنا إليكم مرسلون قالوا ما أنتم إلا بشر مثلنا وما أنزل الرحمن من شيء إن أنتم إلا تكذبون قالوا ربنا يعلم إنا إليكم لمرسلون وما علينا إلا البلاغ المبين قالوا إنا تطيرنا بكم لئن لم تنتهوا لنرجمنكم وليمسنكم منا عذاب أليم قالوا طائركم معكم أئن ذكرتم بل أنتم قوم مسرفون وجاء من أقصى المدينة رجل يسعى قال يا قوم اتبعوا المرسلين اتبعوا من لا يسألكم أجرا وهم مهتدون وما لي لا أعبد الذي فطرني وإليه ترجعون أأتخذ من دونه آلهة إن يردنا الرحمن بضر لا تغني عني شفاعتهم شيئا ولا ينقذون إني إذا لفي ضلال مبين إني آمنت بربكم فاسمعون قيل ادخل الجنة قال يا ليت قومي يعلمون بما غفر لي ربي وجعلني من المكرمين وما أنزلنا على قومه من بعده من جند من السماء وما كنا منزلين إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم خامدون يا حسرة على العباد ما يأتيهم من رسول إلا كانوا به يستهزئون ألم يروا كم أهلكنا قبلهم من القرون أنهم إليهم لا يرجعون وإن كل لما جميع لدينا محضرون وآية لهم الأرض الميتة أحييناها وأخرجنا منها حبا فمنه يأكلون وجعلنا فيها جنات من نخيل وأعناب وفجرنا فيها من العيون ليأكلوا من ثمره وما عملته أيديهم أفلا يشكرون سبحان الذي خلق الأزواج كلها مما تنبت الأرض ومن أنفسهم ومما لا يعلمون وآية لهم الليل نسلخ منه النهار فإذا هم مظلمون والشمس تجري لمستقر لها ذلك تقدير العزيز العليم والقمر قدرناه منازل حتى عاد كالعرجون القديم للشمس ينبغي لها أن تدرك القمر ولا الليل سابق النهار وكل في فلك يسبحون وآية لهم أن حملنا ذرياتهم في الفلك المشحون وخلقنا لهم من مثله ما يركبون وإن نشأ نغرقهم فلا صريخ لهم ولا هم ينقذون إلا رحمة منا ومتاعا إلى حين وإذا قيل لهم اتقوا ما بين أيديكم وما خلفكم لعلكم ترحمون وما تأتيهم من آية من آيات ربهم إلا كانوا عنها معرضين وإذا قيل لهم أنفقوا مما رزقكم الله قال الذين كفروا للذين آمنوا أنطعم من لو يشاء الله أطعمه إن أنتم إلا في ضلال مبين ويقولون متى هذا الوعد إن كنتم صادقين ما ينظرون إلا صيحة واحدة تأخذهم وهم يخصمون فلا يستطيعون توصية ولا إلى أهلهم يرجعون ونفخ في الصور فإذا هم من الأجداث إلى ربهم ينسلون قالوا يا ويلنا من بعثنا من مرقدنا هذا ما وعد الرحمن وصدق المرسلون إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم جميع لدينا محضرون فاليوم لا تظلم نفس شيئا ولا تجزون إلا ما كنتم تعملون إن أصحاب الجنة اليوم في شغل فاكهون هم وأزواجهم في ظلال على الأرائك متكئون لهم فيها فاكهة ولهم ما يدعون سلام قولا من رب رحيم سلام قولا من رب رحيم سلام قولا من رب رحيم وامتازوا اليوم أيها المجرمون ألم أعهد إليكم يا بني آدم ألا تعبدوا الشيطان إنه لكم عدو مبين وإن اعبدوني هذا صراط مستقيم ولقد أضل منكم جبلا كثيرا أفلم تكونوا تعقلون هذه جهنم التي كنتم توعدون اصلوها اليوم بما كنتم تكفرون اليوم نختم على أفواههم وتكلمنا أيديهم وتشهد أرجلهم بما كانوا يكسبون ولو نشاء لطمسنا على أعينهم فاستبقوا الصراط فأنى يبصرون ولو نشاء لمسخناهم على مكانتهم فما استطاعوا مضيا ولا يرجعون ومن نعمره ننكسه في الخلق أفلا يعقلون وما علمناه الشعر وما ينبغي له إن هو إلا ذكر وقرآن مبين ينذر من كان حيا ويحق القول على الكافرين أولم يروا أنا خلقنا لهم مما عملت أيدينا أنعاما فهم لها مالكون وذللناها لهم فمنها ركوبهم ومنها يأكلون ولهم فيها منافع ومشارب أفلا يشكرون واتخذوا من دون الله آلهة لعلهم ينصرون لا يستطيعون نصرهم وهم لهم جند محضرون فلا يحزنك قولهم إنا نعلم ما يسرون وما يعلنون أولم يرى الإنسان أنا خلقناه من نطفة فإذا هو خصيم مبين وضرب لنا مثلا ونسي خلقه قال من يحيي العظام وهي رميم قل يحييها الذي أنشأها أول مرة وهو بكل خلق عليم الذي جعل لكم من الشجر الأخضر نارا فإذا أنتم منه توقدون وليس الذي خلق السماوات والأرض بقادر على أن يخلق مثلهم بلى وهو الخلاق العليم إنما أمره إذا أراد شيئا أن يقول له كن فيكون فسبحان الذي بيده ملكوت كل شيء وإليه ترجعون اللهم إنا نستحفظك ونستودعك أدياننا وأبداننا وأنفسنا وأهلنا وأولادنا وأموالنا كل شيء أعطيتنا اللهم اجعلنا وإياهم في كنفك وأمانك وعياذك من كل شيطان مريد وجبار عنيد وذي بغي وذي حسد ومن شر كل ذي شر إنك على كل شيء قدير اللهم جملنا بالعافية والسلامة وحققنا بالتقوى والاستقامة وعدنا من موجبات الندامة إنك سميع الدعاء اللهم اغفر لنا ولوالدينا ولأولادنا ومشايخنا وإخواننا في الدين وأصحابنا ولمن أحبنا فيك ولمن أحسن إلينا والمؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات يا رب العالمين وصل اللهم على عبدك ورسولك سيدنا مولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم وارزقنا كمال المتابعة له ظاهرا وباطنا في عافية وسلامة برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين الحمد لله الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. We just for those who were haven't been with us, we've been studying or really sort of just reading the biography of one of the scholars of the and he's more of a mudhakkir and a murabbi, but he's also a faqih. Sheikh Ahmad bin Ali, he's known as Sidi Ahmad al-Alawi. That's what he's known as, Sidi Ahmad al-Alawi. And what I said about him is that he's a figure who's the first thing that got me was his image. And if you type his image, it was so striking. I was walking in the library one day and I saw a book that had this image in it. Okay. And it was specifically this image right here. And I thought to myself, oh my God, this is like, I got to read this biography. So I started reading this biography, and it's a very simple biography. And here's another picture of him, an amazing picture of him, right? So he's had such a striking image, especially with the contrast of the hairs that became white and black and his turban and his image and everything. And give me the exact type of image of that pious sheikh that's, away from the dunya, away from drama, away from, the acidic nature of a lot of things in this world. And so his biography is quite simple. He got into a group. That group was not exactly the best of groups. The group was, they used to do some weird things like snake charming and things that he wasn't really interested in. He came upon a sheikh that was very active in Morocco, but that eventually got expelled from Morocco. Not expelled, but fitna happened, and he ended up having to leave Morocco and come back to Algeria. So the sheikh is from Algeria. If I hadn't mentioned it, he's from Algeria, and so the setting of his story is Algeria. And so he continues on, staying with this sheikh, learning from the sheikh, and their dhikr is very simple. The main dhikr, and this is the case with all the teachings of Abu Hassan al-Shadli, is that it's Allah. Their main dhikr is Allah. And so um, many people, they disagree with that, and they say that you can't just say Allah. But the majority opinion, what I've seen from even from the four madhabs, is the permissibility of saying that, because the Prophet ﷺ said, Yawm al-Qiyamah will not come until people say Allah, Allah. And the Quran says, Qulillah, say Allah, وَذَرْهُمْ فِي خَوْضِهِمْ يَلْعَبُونَ ثُمَّ ذَرْهُمْ فِي خَوْضِهِمْ يَلْعَبُونَ. Say Allah and leave them in their vain idle talk. So it's something that the majority of the ulama have said is permissible anyway. But that's their main remembrance. And so he kept doing that until he saw the benefits of it, and he gained, the I guess you could say maqamat. So in tasawwuf, when a person's understanding and their heart becomes clear, and they start reaching maqamat of perfection and of excellence, we can say these are what they call maqamat. And I always try to put these things in layman's term for those who's never come across anything like this before. That's, if you ever listen to me, that's the audience that I'm going to, is those who have never come upon something like this before and are learning something for the first time. Because I always remember myself being at that point, and how almost sort of confusing and intimidating everything could be. So you want to, that's the target, the group that I'm always targeting, someone who's really just starting to learn for the first time and may have a lot of simple questions. So if someone out there is more interested, they've already, they're advanced and they want to go and be with those who are advanced, that's fine. But I'm telling you, who I'm always directing myself to is somebody who's hearing something for the first time. And so he spent 15 years with him. He was about to travel to Syria. And when he was about to travel to Syria, his sheikh got sick and died. And so he had to stay with him. Right after his sheikh got sick and died, his wife got sick and died. So he spent some time with his wife with her family until she died. By that time, he had lost his travel visa. By the time he got his new travel visa, now the fuqara is the word for the followers of the sheikh. They had chosen him to be the successor, right? And so he finally agreed, and he left off his desire to travel and to leave and go and travel east. And then he stayed in Algeria to be the sheikh of the people. And that's where we left off. And we said, we left off at this chapter right here. I received their oaths of allegiance and gave them advice. So he is a murabbi. And what they do, you might ask, okay, what do they do? They have a small building called a zawiya, right? A zawiya it's a building that is not necessarily a masjid, but it has a masjid inside of it. And oftentimes there are rooms for people to stay. There are breakout rooms for classes, maybe. Maybe there's a library. There is a kitchen. And the fuqara, which is again the word for disciples. Fuqara literally means those who are in need, because the attitude of somebody going there is that they're in need. And they do their adhkar there, and they do the recitations there, and they do their ibadah, and it's like the headquarters of the sheikh. So usually they have a zawiya. I don't know if he had mentioned that, if he had a zawiya or not, right? Yet. He's gonna have one eventually. But the sheikh there, he's constantly advising them, he's constantly leading them in the adhkar and everything. So he says, I received their oaths and gave them advice, and I spent on those who visited me at that time part of what I had in my hand for my journey, and I took nothing from them, for I never felt easy about taking money from people. As a result of all this, I was left in a quandary, not knowing what to do or where the will of Allah lay. Ought I go away according to what I felt to be an imperative need, or ought I give up all the idea of going and devote myself as a remembrancer to the fuqara? Okay, remembrancers, mudhakkir, someone who's constantly um, keeping them on the track of dhikr, right? It's like a coach almost, right? But of course, far more intimate and of a serious matter. According to what seemed to be already my fate, I was still hesitating. So he's in between. Do I leave off this journey east? He was going to move permanently east, or do I stay? And we said the other day that this is actually a great sign when things are in such an upheaval for you and you don't know what to do, and your recourse is just to make dua. That's a sign that whatever happens is going to be filled with barakah, because anything that the basis of it is an intense supplication, you should know that that's going to be, whatever's going to happen is going to be good. So he says, I was still hesitating when the time came at which Allah ordained that I should visit the seat of the caliphate. And Algeria was the one northwest African country that was sort of under the Ottoman umbrella. Okay, so they had connections to the Ottoman Caliphate. Unlike Morocco, Mauritania, Senegal, Nigeria, all of those countries, they had their own independent rulers. They were independent of the Ottoman Caliphate. Ottoman Caliphate never extended past Algeria. And so he now, sort of a compromise almost, is that Allah put in his heart to visit Turkey, to visit Istanbul. One day he put in my soul a feeling of constriction which was so persistent that I began to look about me for a means of relief, and it occurred to me to visit some of the fuqara outside the town. So I took with me one of the disciples who was staying with us, Sheikh Muhammad ibn Qasim al-Badisi, and off we went with God's blessing. Then when we had reached our destination, it occurred to us that we might as well visit some of the fuqara in Ghalizan, which we did. And after we had stayed with them for about 2 days, my companion said to me, if only we could go as far as Algiers. I have a friend there. And what is more, we could go to some of the publishers. And this contact might bring Al-Minah al-Qudusiyya, which is their journal, nearer to being printed. It's either his journal or one of his books. We had the manuscript of this book with us at the time, so I'd let him have his way. That's often the case when you feel trapped. Sometimes you just need to travel the earth. Just move around. And it's actually one of the Habaib have this beautiful tradition of dawah, where they make these dawah trips and they sort of let the trip run its course. They let the trip breathe and do whatever happens. So they'll make one intention to go to one, let's say, area, give dawah there, and then whatever pops up. If someone says, "Hey, let's go this way," they'll go that way. If someone invites them, say, "Come and speak here," they'll go and they'll speak there. If someone says, "Hey, I want to join you," they let him join. Right. So whatever happens, happens. If the car breaks down, they stay. So they're very flexible, and it's almost the will of Allah is carrying them. And they become open that all the events around them is almost as if it's from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We had none of our fuqara in Algiers, so none of the disciples of the original sheikh were in Algiers. And when we arrived, my companion set about trying to find his friend, although he was not particularly anxious to do so. In this connection, he said to me, places in which there are no fuqara are empty. Right? But at this time, the group was not that big. Such was his experience of their kindness and cordiality. After which we made contact with a publisher, we had the impression that for various reasons, no Algerian firm would be likely to accept my book. So my companion said, if only we can go as far as Tunis, the whole thing would be quite simple. All right, so now they want to leave the country and go to Tunisia. And by the way, at this time, it's the World War, I don't know if it happened yet. So the countries of the Muslim world, we didn't have these lines. Algeria, a line, Morocco, a line. They just had the general region called Al-Maghrib, general region called Jazair, general region called Tunis, right? And of course, there were cities inside of them, but there were none of these lines and nation states yet. Yeah. So he says, I myself was busy revising my book, which I could do equally well elsewhere, in between visits to the publisher and other outings. So I let him have his way once more, and we traveled from town to town until we reached Tunis. The only practicer of remembrance, dhakr, that I knew, there was a blind man who knew by heart the Book of Allah. Okay? He used to call on us in Mustaghanam or Mustaghanim on his way to visit his master in Morocco. But as to my numerous fellow countrymen who had settled in Tunis, there was none of them that I wanted to meet. So we entered the town at an hour of siesta and found lodgings, and I constrained myself not to go out until there should come to us some dhakr whom we could go out with. This was on account of a vision I had in which men who were members of Sufi brotherhoods came and entered the house where I was and took me out with them to their place of gathering. When I told my companion this, my idea was too much for him, and he said, I did not come here to stay shut in by these four walls. So he would go out on various errands and walk around parts of the town and then come back. After we had spent 4 days in that house, there came to us the company of people I had seen in my vision. Okay. They were from the followers of Sheikh As-Sadiq As-Salirawi, who had died only a few months previously. The holy man traced back his spiritual ancestry in the path of Allah through Sidi Muhammad Zafir and his father Sidi Muhammad al-Madani to Sheikh Sidi Mawla al-Arabi al-Darqawi. Some 25 years previously, As-Sadiq As-Salirawi's Sheikh Muhammad Zafir al-Madani had written, my honored guide and father, Sheikh Muhammad al-Madani, left Medina about 1222, so we're talking 1807, and went as far as Morocco in search of a way by which he might attain to Allah, and he took guidance from many sheikhs. Then Allah brought him together with his sheikh, the standard bearer of the Shadriya in his day, Sidi Muhammad al-Darqawi, Sidi Mawla al-Arabi al-Darqawi. His meeting with him was on Safar 23rd after the Hijrah, 1224. In the Darqawi Zawiya at Bubarih in Bani Zarwal, 2 days' journey from Fez. He took the path from him, and his heart was opened under his guidance. And if it be asked, who was my father's sheikh? It was al-Mawlay Arabi al-Darqawi. Okay. For about 9 years, he was his companion. Then Mawlay al-Arabi al-Darqawi said to him one day in great earnestness, go to thy home, Madani, thou hast no longer any need of me. And on another occasion, he indicated that he had reached the end of all perfection and said to him, thou hast attained unto that which is attained to by the perfect among men. And he told him to go to his native town, the house of the perfumed shrine. And when he bade farewell to him, he wept and said, I have made thee the instrument of my credit with Allah and a link between me and his prophet. He went to Medina and stayed there with his family for 3 days. Now we're reading this is the story of the sheikh that came, of the person who came to visit him in the house in Tunis, in the lodging. And every year he joined the pilgrims on Mount Arafah and then returned to Medina, where he visited continually the shrine of the Prophet, spending his time turned towards Allah, steeped in contemplation, in utter detachment. And he said, during that time, I met the perfect Shuyukh, Gnostics, Arifin, the perfect Sheikh, Gnostic and Arif, Sidi Ahmad ibn Idris. This is a major, maybe we should read his biography next. Sidi Ahmad ibn Idris, major figure. He was a huge Sheikh. I found him on a most exalted footing as regards to following the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And I was so marveled at his state that I took initiation from him for the blessing of it. Yeah, Sidi Ahmad ibn Idris was famous for his followership of the Sunnah to the T, and he was somebody who he had followers in 3 different lands, independently, because he used to travel the world. Sidi Ahmad ibn Idris. We'll read his biography, inshallah. So I marveled at his state that I took initiation from him for the blessing of it. During his stay in Medina, he was asked for spiritual guidance by some who were seeking a master, but he made no response to them out of pious courtesy to his sheikh until he heard a voice from the pure shrine which said to him, be a remembrancer, for verily remembrance benefits the believer. He said, I quivered and shook at the sweetness of that utterance, and I understood it to be an authorization from the Prophet ﷺ of the all-bountiful king. So he obeyed God's command and transmitted initiation to various persons in the city of the Prophet ﷺ, and returned to his master Muli al-Arabi al-Darqawi and remained in his presence for some months. Then Muli al-Arabi al-Darqawi died, and my father set out once more for Medina. When he reached Tripoli, the eyes of some of its people were open to the excellence of his virtues and the fullness of his spiritual realization, so they took initiation from him. Then the number of his disciples increased, and the brotherhood became famous, and men associated it with him. And on this account, it was named At-Tariq al-Madaniyya, and it's a branch from Shadiliyya. This last passage calls for some general remarks about initiation. Okay. The practice of grafting a new scion to an old stock is alien to the modern world, except on a material plane. But throughout the ancient world, this was practiced also and above all on higher planes, and since estrangement from the mysteries had become second nature to man, it was considered indispensable before he could enter upon the path which leads to them, that of the scion of primordial human nature. I'm not really into this type of talk, right? I don't know if this is the Sheikh's work or someone else's translation or what, but I'm just personally not, at the outset of religion, the question of initiation is not so urgent. At a cyclic moment. I mean, whoever's translating this is very abstruse type of language. He's just talking about, I don't know what. You're just talking about transmission and initiation into the orders and things. Yeah, see, it's not the Sheikh Ahmad al-Alawi is talking. It's the author. Okay, here we go. By the end of his life, Sheikh al-Alawi had great numbers of such followers attached to him. With regard to meeting Sheikh the Madani Fuqara at Tunis, he continues. Okay, thank you. All right. The whole gathering sat down, and we talked together for a long time, and I saw the lights of their love of Allah shining on their foreheads. They asked me to go out with them to a place they had in mind, and they did not stop insisting until they had taken me out and lodged me at the house of one of their friends. Then, one after another, the fuqara came to visit us full of ardor. Such was their hospitality to me and honor they showed me. May Allah reward them. During my stay in Tunis, I was continually visited by theologians and fuqaha, muhaddithin, canonists, and other eminent men, or fuqaha maybe. And with them came a number of their students. Some of them were already initiates and others were not, and of the least, several entered upon the path. Now, one thing that came to my mind: if the sheikh had left and started walking around the city and maybe attracted a follower or two or three, this would be seen by the other sheikhs as, first of all, it may have distracted him from his own people in Algeria, right? He might have gotten a bigger following there and been more busy there, so it would have distracted him from the people of Algeria. It also would have maybe cause friction, because whenever you have people taking care of you have imams in a town, another imam just comes in and starts doing his own thing, it sort of disrupts the flow of things and it bothers people. So that vision that he had is really for the safety of everything, and keeping the peace and respect, that he's only going to go out with the imams of the city rather than by himself, and then maybe getting himself a following there, and the other imams are like, what is this, like just coming in and doing this in our city without ever talking to us or anything like that. So it would have been insulting to the imams of the city. One of the students had suggested that I should give them a lesson in al-Murshid al-Mu'in. What I said found favor with my hearers, and this was the cause of some of the students becoming initiated into the order. Right. So he still got followers, but at least it's now he came in hosted by the local imams, because Imams a mashayikh in a city, they're taking care of their people in that city, right? They know each other, they trust each other. They don't want a foreigner coming in now from another city. It leads to friction. I guarantee you it leads to friction. And all over the Islamic world, it's the same ethic. So for example, if there's like Toronto, I don't just go to Toronto, for example, set up shop. I'm going to have a Safina Society Toronto, right? Without talking to the imams first and just gaining some trust with them first. The other sheikhs that are there, even if it's a huge city with only a few shiuch. That's just not the way to behave. There's an ethic and a code of conduct in every profession, right? And this is one of them too. So he says that is how we spend our time there, both as rememberers and remembrancers. Dhakirin wa mudhakkirin. Dhakir and mudhakkir. And mudhakkir is one who leads the dhikr. And some derived benefit. God be praised for that visit. As to the questioning of the printing of a Minah al-Qudusiyya, we did make a contract with the owner of a press through the mediation of a fellow traveler. We liked them both very much indeed, and this was what prompted us to make the contract. Although we knew that this particular press was not well equipped, as a result, the book did not come out at the promised time, and I had to go and leave it behind me for somebody else to look after. I had decided to go on to Tripoli to visit my cousins, which had left Mustaghanam, as I had already mentioned, and to settle there. Since I had a permit to travel, I thought I had better take this opportunity. I was also prompted by thoughts of visiting the Holy House of Allah and the tomb of the Prophet ﷺ, but unfortunately a letter came to me from Mustaghanam telling me that the pilgrimage was forbidden that year and cautioning me against standing on Arafah for fear of incurring the penalty. SubhanAllah. So they had things like that as well. It's not like we're the only people that have coronavirus, and things are halted here for some reason. I don't know what, he doesn't say the reason that no one could go to Hajj. Is it for everyone or just for Algerians? So maybe there's some fitna or some trial or something in between the Algeria and Mecca that they didn't want the people to travel there. Okay. At all events, I embarked for Tripoli by myself and suffered some hardship through traveling at that season, for it was cold winter weather. In fact, I only had one day of relief. I was meditating on the crowd of people, men of Irba and others, who thronged the boat, and I was wondering whether there was a dhakr amongst them, when one of my travelers stopped beside me and looked hard at me as if he were trying to read my face. Then he said, "Are you not Sheikh Ahmad bin Aliwa?" "Who told you?" I asked. "I've always been hearing about you," he said. "And just now, while I was looking at you, as I had been for some time, I suddenly realized that you must be that very man." So I said that I was. Then I went with him to another part of the boat, and having asked his name, was told that he was Al-Hajj Ma'tuq. When we began to talk together, I realized that he was Arif Billah. I asked him if he had found any spiritual support among his fellow countrymen, and he said, "I'm the only man of this art in all of Jirba or Irba." From my meeting with him, the time passed as happily as I could have wished until he and those who were traveling with him landed at Jirba, and I was once more in the grip of loneliness and the inevitable hardships of traveling in the winter until I myself landed at Tripoli. My cousins were waiting for me at the harbor. We were longing to catch sight of each other, all the more impatiently on account of our enforced separation. No sooner had we reached their house and sat down that we discussed the questions of emigration and all that was connected with it, and they told me that materially speaking they were well off, thanks to God's safe care. As to the country, it seemed to me, as far as I could tell, a good place to emigrate to, since its people were as like as possible to those of our country, both in speech and ways. So Algeria to Tunisia. Tunisia is a little bit, northeast of Algeria. Towards sunset, I asked my cousins if they knew any dhakr there, or any sheikhs who were arifin, and they said that they only knew a Turkish sheikh who was the head of some government department, a man of most evident piety. I asked if it were possible for us to meet him the next day, and just as we were considering this, there was a knock at the door, and one of them went out and came back, saying, "Here's the sheikh himself at the door. asking if he can come in. He had never visited them at their home. SubhanAllah. I told them to bring him in, and in he came, a tall man with a long beard dressed from head to foot in Turkish fashion. We greeted each other, and when he sat down, he said, a man from the west, he meant Shushtari. Shushtari is a poet from Andalusia. Says of the divine manifestation, my beloved embraced all existence and appeared in both black and white. I said, leave Western talk to Western folk. Let us hear something from the East. In other words, we're from the West. This is our Shushtari's, for very famous in the West. West meaning Algeria, Andalus, Maghrib. Of course, Andalus was gone by then. He said, the poet said, embraced all existence and did not specify either West or East, whereupon I knew that he was very well versed in the lore of the mystics, in other words, the poetry of the Arifin. He sat with us for an hour or two that night, all eagerness, listening with all his faculties, wrapped in attention, as I noticed. Then he took leave of us, but not before he had made us promise to visit him at his office the next day. We went the next morning to where he worked, the Department of Maritime Revenues, of which he was the director. He received us most joyfully and gave orders for work to be stopped and gave his staff a holiday, although there was much work to be done. Then we went off with him alone, and it would take too long to tell all of what we spoke of in the ways of mystic doctrine. But I may mention that he said to me, if you wish to stay in our country, this Zawiya here is yours, and all the outbuildings that go with it, and I will be your servant. I knew all that he said was spoken in perfect sincerity, and I told him that I would leave my home and settle there. I went for a short walk round the district and found myself very attracted by that neighborhood, as if it corresponded to something in my nature. So again, now he's leaning now to moving permanently to this area, which is Tunisia, so not so far east. And by the way, when he keeps saying this word mystic doctrine, it's like the speech of the Arifin, those awliya and Arifin of Allah. It's the subtle matters of the path of Allah. On my third day in Tripoli, I heard a town crier calling, whoever wants to go to Istanbul can have a ticket for very little. And he added that the boat was due to leave at once. Immediately, I had an urge to visit the capital of the caliphate, and I thought that very likely I might find there the learning I felt the need for. So I asked one of my cousins to go with me, and he said he would, but the sight of the fury of the sea and the crash of the waves stopped him. It was certainly no weather for a crossing. Suffice it that we reached the other side. Don't ask me for any details about our embarkation. Once I had found a place on the deck, I began to wonder where I should turn for help and refuge upon the journey, and I found no comfort in anything but reliance upon Allah. By the time we reached Istanbul, I had almost died of seasickness, and what made my plight worse was that at that time I had not a single friend in Istanbul to take me by the hand, and I was so ignorant of Turkish that I was hard put to it to say the simplest thing. One day after my arrival, I was walking at the outskirts of the town. Istanbul, what an amazing town! One of the most really amazing cities, I should say, not towns, cities that you can ever go to. And if you caught it before the heavy modernization, it would have been even more amazing. One day after my arrival, I was walking at the outskirts of the town, and suddenly a man took my hand and greeting me in clear Arabic and asked me my name and where I came from. I told him who I was. And who should he be but an authority on Islamic law from Algiers, a man from the family of the Prophet ﷺ. By that time, I was very eager to see the sights of the capital. So I put myself in his hands, and he was a great help in showing me what I wanted to see. But I was unable to satisfy my thirst to the full, owing to the upheavals in which the caliphate was involved in, and the troubles which we were soon to break out between the Turkish people and their so-called Renaissance youth or reformist youth. So this is the fitan that occurred to the Khilafah by the Young Turks, they're called. Right? This movement was headed by numerous individuals from whom the government had banished and who had consequently become scattered throughout various countries of Europe, where they had started newspapers and periodicals in the sole purpose of criticizing the government and exposing its weaknesses in the eyes of foreign states. And self-seekers found in this subversive movement loopholes and doors through which they pushed their way and gained their ends. Thus was the caliphate doomed to have its ruler arrested and thrown into prison, while the Renaissance youth went about its work with utterly unbounded ruthlessness until in the end they succeeded in achieving their aim, and the meaning of their Renaissance and patriotism and reform became as clear as day to anyone who had eyes to see. But I will say no more. What the Kemalists have done makes it unnecessary for me to trace this degradation step by step. I was convinced that this day, which I had hoped to make in those parts, was not feasible for various reasons, of which the chief was that I sensed the impending change from kingdom to republic, and from republic to unprincipled tyranny. So I went back to Algeria feeling that my return was sufficient as fruit of my travels, even if I had gained nothing else, and truly I had no peace of soul until the day when I set foot on Algerian soil. And I praise Allah for the ways of my people and their remaining in the faith of their fathers and grandfathers and following in the footsteps of the pious ones. Inshallah, tomorrow we'll read a short passage from a doctor who wrote a little passage about Sheikh Ahmad al-Alawi, right, and about meeting him. Nabila said kind of like a monastery. Yes, the zawiyas are sort of like they're sort of like monasteries, and the zawiyas, they tend to be open to the public to come in, but mainly it's you could say it's similar to a monastery. And sometimes people could stay a few days there. Sometimes they could spend a few months there, and sometimes some people live there. For example, the caretakers, and oftentimes what they do is they cook and they feed the poor. So that's their role in society, is relief, is that they feed the poor. It's open, their kitchens are open for anyone to come in and eat at any time. Though that's what the zawa is basically. And they spend their time in worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and in steering clear from the fitan of this world. And maybe one day, really the masajid are like that for us. That's what the masajid should be. But the masajid oftentimes don't have the open kitchen, and they don't have the one sheikh that everyone unifies around. And that's the value of these zawiyas, is that there's one sheikh, one teaching, and everything is in order. And Habib Omar Zdar al-Mustafa is similar to that, in that he's the sheikh. Of course, there are many other shuyukh, but he's the leader, he's the amir. Whereas, the local masajid may not be the case. And, in that respect, government masajid are not like that. Government masajid, for example, there's no necessarily one sheikh and leader. Whoever the government hires has an imam, is the imam, and he spends a few years there, and then they swap him out. Right? So those are these zawiyas are like that, and they're really beautiful places. And I don't know, these days, subhanAllah, you just want to flee from all this fitan that's going on. Muslims arguing with each other, jidal, riots, oppression, dhulm, and even the people who claim to be fighting for justice, I don't blame them, but I don't see much of leadership qualities in them that I would want to put the future in their hands. I just see it as, like he says here, just unprincipled tyranny. Just, if you have a king, you have one tyrant. But if you have, mob rule, you have a million tyrants, right? And so I'm not necessarily very confident in some of these alternatives either. So it's a very unfortunate time, but it's a time to return back to Allah Ta'ala in remembrance and dhikr and dua and steering clear of fitan, and at the same time for advocating for justice for people in whatever way that we can, and hating the injustice that we see and trying to do something for it, but trying to do something for it in the way of Allah and His Messenger, not in some secular way. And with that, inshallah, we'll pick up the next time we meet, which is hopefully tomorrow, inshallah, and we'll read the letter written by a little biography written by his doctor, who was a French Christian who wrote it in the last year of his life, who met the Sheikh in the last year of his life and was struck by the awe-inspiring nature of the Sheikh, and was moved to write this letter about him. Sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam tasliman kathiran tayyiban mubarakan fi. And it's our perfect time now to stop for Salat al-Ishraq, which is al-Duha. Assalamu alaikum.